Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Rhiannon and today I'm giving you guys the first video in my brand new series, Booktuber Recommends. I've been wanting to do something like this for a while now. Since I've started hosting and being on a lot more live shows, I tend to get recommended books constantly. And I thought what better way to broaden my reading than to read the books that have been recommended to me by some booktubers. My aim for this series is to push me out of my comfort zone and get me reading some books that I wouldn't normally go for. And we are kicking off this series, as you can tell, by reading one of Rebecca from Rebecca Books' favourite books, and that is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. From what I can gather, this book tells the story of Shakespeare's son Hamnet. This is definitely not the type of book I would usually go for, but the way Rebecca was talking about it and the way she was just hyping it up constantly made me want to pick it up as soon as possible. So I bought myself a copy. This is the beautiful Waterstones exclusive edition, and I'm just really hoping that I'm gonna love this one. I will just read you guys the synopsis for this one because I genuinely don't know how to describe it, but it does just say, on a summer's day in 1596, a young girl in Stratford-upon-Avon takes to her bed with a fever. Her twin brother Hamnet searches everywhere for help. Why is nobody at home? Their mother Agnes is over a mile away in their garden where she grows medicinal herbs. Their father is working in London. Neither parent knows that one of the children will not survive the week. Hamnet is a novel inspired by the son of a famous playwright. It's the story of the bond between twins and of marriage pushed to the brink by grief. It's also the story of a kestrel and its mistress, a flea that boards a ship in Alexandria, and a glovemaker's son who flouts convention in pursuit of the woman he loves. Above all, it's the tender reimagining of a boy whose life has been all but forgotten, but whose name was given to one of the most celebrated plays ever written. I've never actually read Hamlet before. The only Shakespearean play that I've read is actually Romeo and Juliet, so I'm very intrigued to see whether I will want to pick up Hamlet straight away after reading this novel. I do feel like this is going to be a very hard-hitting novel as well. It does mention grief a lot in the synopsis, and I do believe that we deal with the death of a child, so that is definitely going to be very difficult to read about. Rebecca has also told me though that the writing is beautiful, and she does elicit a lot of different emotions from you just through her use of beautiful writing, so I feel like this is one that I'm hopefully going to love. I don't know if you can see on the cover, but this one was actually the Waterstones Book of the Year for 2020 as well, so that is definitely promising. But yeah, all in all, I just feel like I'm going to really enjoy this book. It's only about 300 pages long, and the writing is also very large. I don't know how well you can see that, but it does take up quite a bit of the page. I do also know that one of my dear friends here on Booktube, Carys from Carys's Corner, is planning on reading this book this month, so I will see if we can buddy read it. I feel like that will definitely be a nice experience, and then I am also going to be sharing my thoughts with Rebecca as I read this one as well, because she is dying to know what I think about this book. Just to let you guys know though, from this point onwards, this video is going to turn into more of a vlog. I am just going to be updating you guys when I've read a good chunk of the book, and I feel like it's easier for me to do that if it is a vlog style video. Before we dive into the vlog section though, please do make sure that you are subscribed to my channel. Over 60% of the people who watch my videos aren't actually subscribed to my channel, so if you do enjoy my videos and you do find yourself watching them quite often, please do consider subscribing. It truly does mean the world to me, and it does really help out my channel as well. I do feel like this intro has been very long, so I am sorry about that, but without further ado, let's just dive into the video. Hi guys! So I have now started Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. I'm about 100 pages in, I think. 114 pages. Okay, a bit further than I thought, but oh my goodness, I am absolutely loving this so far. Nothing's really happened. I feel like it's definitely a character-driven book. There's not much plot to it, but the writing just sucks you in from the very first page. When I sit down to read this book, I just fall back into it straight away, and I do read a good chunk of pages in one sitting. It's such a beautifully written book. I am a little bit confused though, because I'm not sure if this has some magical realism elements to it, or if the writer is just amazingly good at including vivid imagery. I have talked about this with Rebecca actually, and she said she's not too sure either, because there is talk of some magic and witches and things like that. Obviously in the time that this was set, I feel like people did still believe in witches and witchcraft, so I'm not really sure if it's an actual thing or if it's just a metaphor for something else. I feel like we will see as the book goes on. I have been putting off reading this though for quite a few weeks now, because I did read the first 100 pages and then I really wanted to carry on, but I knew if I carried on I would never end up updating the vlog, so I have stopped myself. But I am finally feeling like filming again, which is always good, and so I decided that tonight's the night I would sit down and share my updates with you guys. It is actually Monday the 29th of March, and I would love to have this finished out by the end of the month. I reckon that's doable. I am off now for 2 weeks over Easter and I have just handed in an assignment, so I do have some free time, which is always nice. And like I said, when I pick this book up, I just fall back into the story. It's such an easy book just to fall back into. We do have a few different perspectives in here, which is always nice. It definitely breaks up the story a bit and really helps with the pacing. However, as per usual, there are some characters that I'm more interested in than others at the minute, so I'm intrigued to see if that changes throughout my read of this book. But I'm just so intrigued. I haven't stopped thinking about this book since I set it down. Rebecca keeps messaging me asking if I've read more of this, and obviously I haven't, so as soon as I do, I will be sending her my updates. Also, Carys from Carys's Corner is reading this book at the minute as well, and she's reached a part now where she said she feels really sad, so I am definitely nervous. I knew it was going to be a hard-hitting and sad book diving into it, so I am expecting that, but because the writing is so beautiful, I really do think it's going to have a massive impact on me. I feel like it will definitely have more of an effect on me because I know the writing is so beautiful. I feel like Maggie O'Farrell will be able to portray grief in a way that is going to make me want to cry. But so far, from the 100 pages that I've read, this is definitely worth the hype. It's not going to be a book for everyone, I will say that now, but for me, I do love a good historical fiction. This is more of a reimagining, I believe. It is definitely factual, but I do think that certain elements have been added just to make it read more interestingly as a novel. I might be wrong, I will double check, but like I said, when it mentions the witchcraft and things like that, even though it would be something that was around at the time and that people still believed in, it's definitely a lot more prominent in this book than I thought it would be. I'm sure there is a section at the back of this book actually that does have some information about the background of this novel and about the research that Maggie O'Farrell has done, so I will definitely be reading that afterwards, again just to make sure that I'm giving you guys the correct information. But yeah, currently 100 pages in, very much enjoying it. I'm really intrigued to carry on with the book, but I'm also nervous because I know that the hard-hitting gritty stuff is coming. But from Carys and Rebecca's reactions, I just really want to know what happens in this book. I have a feeling I might actually sit down now and try and get through a couple more pages. I probably won't update you guys again tonight though because I'm really tired. I've been doing an assignment all day and so I think I just need to shut off. But as soon as I've read a good chunk of this book, I will definitely come and update you guys. It is one I feel like I'm gonna have a lot to say about, but yeah, I'm just really excited to see what I personally think about this one and to obviously share my thoughts with you guys. So that is definitely the plan for the rest of tonight, and hopefully I will read enough so that I can update you guys tomorrow. Hello, it is now the next day. As you can see, it's night time. I've gotten cozy. I've got my lovely Stitch hoodie on. I'm ready to settle down and read for the rest of the night, but before I do that, I did want to update you guys because I have made a good chunk of progress in Hamnet. I'm currently on page 252 and I've now reached part 2, and guys, oh my goodness, the thing that just happened to close off part 1 broke my heart. I genuinely cannot describe to you how sad it made me. I was genuinely tearing up. I felt the sorrow deep in my heart. I was just picturing what it would have been like for a family to experience something like this in that time. I'm not sure if I said before, but in this book we do deal with the Black Death, which is a plague. Obviously, just speaking the name of this plague out loud, you instantly think of how many casualties there were. It was the worst plague in history. I think it still is. I don't think anything will ever match the fatalities of the Black Plague. And so seeing it affect some of the characters in this was just honestly heartbreaking. I did mention at the beginning of this video that I was scared to dive into this because I knew it was going to be very hard hitting. And even though it is, it's told in the most beautiful way by Maggie O'Farrell that even though you are devastated, there's still a little part of you that wants to carry on reading and wants to continue on with the story. Even though the manner of death in this is gruesome and definitely not the nicest, again, the author just manages to portray it so beautifully, and I feel like that is what got to me the most, because it's easy enough to say that yes, someone got the plague, they died, that was it, but the lyrical writing in this just made it all the more impactful. I'm honestly struggling to get my words out right now because there's genuinely not a better word I could use to describe the writing than beautiful, and I don't want to keep repeating myself, but wow, this book is having a massive impact on me. Another thing that I did mention at the start of this video as well is that I wasn't sure if this was historically accurate, what type of book it was going to be, if the author was going to take more creative freedom with it or not, and I definitely feel like that is the case. This is definitely a character-driven novel. There isn't really much happening in it except for the main part of the plot, I suppose. I don't know if I've said, but the first part has been split in two. So we have the past timeline and then we also have present day, and it does switch between both of them. So you see the background of these characters and see them grow into the people that they are now, and then you also see what they're like in present day and how the main events of this plot are developing and how it is ultimately affecting all of them in different ways. There isn't actually a lot known about William Shakespeare's family. All we know are the bare minimum. They were a very private family, and so not a lot has actually been recorded of them, and so the author has taken it upon herself to think about the position of these people during that time and to create some sort of backstory for them. But even though this is very much focused on the characters, Maggie O'Farrell manages to weave the history of this time into the story seamlessly. It is such a well done job, and again, you really don't realise the impact of it until it all builds up to this one climax. We did actually have one specific chapter where it talked about how the plague came to be in London, and that was so interesting but also so devastating because you can see the chain of events that led to the plague being brought over. And again, it just puts you in their shoes. These people don't know what's going on. All of a sudden their friends and family members are falling ill and are passing away in the most horrific manner possible, but yet the author manages to portray it in a way that's not degrading. It's not downplaying anything. She just tells the story and the history of what happened. I'm not sure again if that is historically accurate. I feel like it is in some parts, definitely, but others again I'm not too sure. But even though that chapter is dealing with such a grave subject matter and you know what this chain of events is going to lead to, I did find myself smiling during it at some points because it talks about a monkey, for example, and there's a boy that sees this monkey for the first time and he's never seen one before and he's completely fascinated by it. And I feel like that was such a clever tool because you see what is happening through the eyes of this little boy in a way, as he's the one to go to the docks, he's the one to see this monkey. The monkey is ultimately what carries the fleas that then infects the people with the plague. Obviously this boy doesn't know that. He then goes on a ship to work as a cabin boy. He decides to hop off in London and stay there, and so ultimately this journey of his is what brought this horrific plague to London. But because you see it through the eyes of a juvenile, he doesn't comprehend what is happening. He doesn't realise that the men are dying around him because he has brought this plague on board. Obviously no one could know that they've brought a plague aboard, that's not what I'm saying. It's just the way that the author manages to tell you the tale of how everything happened, and she just builds it up in a manner that keeps you interested, it keeps you wanting to know more. You know that this is inevitable, but still you're hoping that something will happen along the way to change it or to stop it. And yeah, I honestly went back to reread that chapter because it did have such an effect on me. I just found it so interesting to see how all the events came together to lead up to one big thing, and that it wasn't just shoved in your face saying this is what happened, the plague is here, this is the main plot of the story. It's told in such a way that, like I said, you know it's happening, it's inevitable that it's happening, but the people in this book are ignorant of it, and so you as a reader are just too invested because you know something bad is going to happen, but there's nothing that can be done to stop it. And again, there are signs throughout the whole of this first part. It's not blatantly said that we're discussing the plague until this chapter where it explains how everything occurred. But yeah, that in itself was just very harrowing to read. Definitely interesting, but definitely tough because it's just crazy to think how one chance encounter could lead to such a thing. And then the way that this first part closed off, like I said, it genuinely had me in tears. And I don't cry in books, guys, you know this about me, but I shed a few tears reading the last few pages of part one. I genuinely don't know what's going to happen in the second part. I guess we'll be dealing with the fallout from what has just occurred. I know Carys from Carys's Corner has already told me that this is all one big chapter now. I think there's about 120 pages left and there's no chapter breaks. It just carries on as one continuous story. So I don't know how I feel about that, but I guess we'll see once I dive into it. I just know that the event is going to take such a toll on some of our characters, and it's going to be very hard to read about because, like I said at the start, everyone deals with grief differently. And again, Maggie O'Farrell's beautiful writing is just going to convey that absolutely perfectly, I think. To be honest with you guys, I don't know how much of what I've said in this clip made sense. I feel like I've just been sat here rambling because honestly I just cannot sort through my thoughts at the minute. I feel like there are so many things I want to touch upon and mention, but I don't want to spoil anything and I don't want this vlog to be way too long, especially because I still have the second part to read. There is no way that I can put this off for any longer, so my plan for the rest of tonight is to sit down and finish out this book. I'm so invested now, I'm so intrigued, I need to know what happens at the end of this book, and so I'm going to sit down and I'm not going to move until I finish it. I'm not actually sure if I'll update you guys tonight or tomorrow morning. I feel like it would make more sense to update you guys tomorrow because if my thoughts are like this now, once I finish the book I feel like they will just be even more scattered, so it might make more sense for me to sit down tomorrow and tell you guys what I thought of the book in its entirety. Just know that at the end of part one I am completely heartbroken. I'm very scared to dive into the second part, but I feel like it's just going to be very hard-hitting but very heartwarming and important at the same time. And honestly I just want to know what happens to the rest of the characters and to see where they all eventually end up. I've done it, guys. I've just finished Hamnet, and wow, that is the only thing I can come up with right now, is just wow. This book has had so much of an impact on me that I genuinely cannot describe to you guys, which is so strange considering I never thought this would be the type of book that I'd enjoy. I'm just blown away by the amount of emotions that it had me feeling throughout, especially in these last 100 pages. I felt angry, I felt sad, I felt a whole different mix of emotions, and it just ended so powerfully that all I want to do now is pick up the play Hamlet. I'm not going to talk any more about this tonight because I just need a moment to process everything, to be honest with you. I feel like I definitely need to sit down and collect my thoughts, and hopefully by tomorrow I'll be able to sit down and tell you guys my thoughts in a coherent manner. Hello, I'm finally here to close out this vlog and to give you guys my final thoughts on Hamnet. To be honest, it has been a couple of days since I finished this book, and I still don't think I could convey my thoughts on this book to you guys in a coherent way. So if you are looking for a well-articulated and thought-out review, this is definitely not going to be it. I am just going to go over the story as a whole and maybe touch on some things that I haven't actually spoken about during this vlog yet. What I love about this book is that Maggie O'Farrell managed to give a voice to Shakespeare's family. We all know William Shakespeare, we all know his name, but rarely do we talk about his family. I have mentioned previously in this vlog that there isn't much information about Shakespeare's family out there, but I have since read the author's note in the back of this book, and Maggie O'Farrell does explain all of her choices regarding why she focused on some characters more than others, and how she went about obtaining all of the facts and all of the relevant information to be able to put it all together and create this novel. One of the things that I really did appreciate whilst reading this book is that Shakespeare himself is never once mentioned by name. He is the son of John and Mary, he is the husband of Agnes, and he is the father of Susanna, Hamnet and Judith. Again, I feel like that was a very clever move. Like I said, everyone does know Shakespeare's name, but this is not a book about him. This is a book about his family and the other people in his life, and so I feel like taking away his name really did have a big impact, and it did give more focus to the other people in his life, such as his wife and children. Alongside that, we never see him in London. We never really see him writing his plays and get the success from his plays. The only one that is referred to is Hamlet for obvious reasons, and I really do like how Maggie O'Farrell incorporated that play into the story. I said at the beginning of this video that this is a book that deals with the death of a child. If you know Shakespeare's history, then you are probably aware of that. To be honest, I wasn't aware of that at all. The first time I heard mention of Shakespeare's son was actually by Rebecca, because obviously in recommending this book to me, she did kind of tell me what the premise was, and that is how I ultimately found out that Shakespeare did have children and that he did have a son. And I'm not sure if that shows just how ignorant and unintelligent I am. To be fair, I haven't actually studied Shakespeare all that much. I did read Romeo and Juliet for school, but that is about as far as I got with it. And again, the focus is on Shakespeare himself. We don't have any mention of his family, and I feel like that is why I enjoy diving into this book, because we do see the background, we do see the support he had at home, and we do also see that he's not the best type of person at some times either. The second half of this novel is mainly centered around grief, and specifically the grief of a family who have lost a child. The whole second half of this book was just done absolutely beautifully. It described the process of grieving so well, and to be honest, it did have me in tears. You could feel every single emotion from these characters. You can see how this event affected all of them in different ways, and it was just absolutely heartbreaking. Saying that though, I feel like this novel wrapped up perfectly. The ending is so powerful that again, I was in tears, but it wasn't just sad tears. I was happy as well in a way, because it did mean so much for certain characters, and the last line in this novel just sums up the whole book beautifully. I don't know if I should say it because I don't want to spoil anything, but it does just sum up how Agnes has been feeling since the death of her child. She feels like they're all going to forget this child. Every day that goes by, she finds it harder and harder to picture this child, because obviously back then there wasn't really a way to keep hold of any memories for anyone, and that last line just got to me, because like I said, there's been a build up to this big event. This big event occurs, after that there is the grieving process, and just when you think things are so bleak, this ending happens, and it is just the most heartwarming thing. Aside from that, I did really enjoy the setting of this novel as well. I've never actually been to Stratford-upon-Avon, but I will definitely make sure to go there in the future. I loved reading about the countryside, the family house, and Agnes's birthplace as well. And I know I said at the start of this video that this is definitely not the type of book I would pick up by myself. While that still holds, I'm definitely more intrigued to dive into similar books now. I've always been a person person that does enjoy history, but then I never tend to pick up historical fiction books just because I have this preconception that it's going to be quite boring. And I really don't know why I've been thinking that, to be honest, because this, like I said, has just blown me away. It was so intriguing, and even though it might not be entirely factually accurate, I had the most amazing time diving into the backstory of Shakespeare and his family, and this has made me very interested now in Shakespeare's other works. I am going to finish off my discussion here. I do feel like I've talked about this book quite a lot, but again, I feel like I'm struggling to put into words what I did actually enjoy about it. Just know that this is a very powerful novel that deals with family and grief and the death of a child. It is very hard-hitting, but I feel like it's so important and it is beautifully done, and I would highly recommend this one to everyone. Please do let me know down in the comments if you know of any other books that are similar to this that you think I might enjoy. Like I said, I am trying to broaden my reading taste at the minute and pick up books that I wouldn't normally go for. Whilst you're down there, please do let me know if you've read this book and what you thought of it, and as well as that, if you do have any booktubers in mind that you would like me to focus on in this series, please do leave their channel name down below. I am planning on creating a lot of videos in this series, and I really cannot wait to share this journey with you. This first video is definitely a successful one, so I do just want to thank Rebecca from Rebecca Books once again for recommending this book to me. I don't know if I mentioned actually, but I did give this book 5 stars, definitely a new favourite, and I will be recommending this to everyone for a very long time. If you liked this video, don't forget to click the like button as well as the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content from me. Thank you so much for watching, it truly does mean the world to me, and I will see you soon in my next video. Goodbye!